next speaker is here also representing indie developers, and I think you'll see over the course of the day that indie has taken on a larger and larger variety of meanings, but in all cases, the common theme is survival and ensuring that in the hyper-competitive world of games, you can stand out. And so I'd like to introduce, and please join me in welcoming Kenny Wang, the CEO of BlueBat Games.
Hello. So hi everyone, my name is Kenny Huang. I'm the CEO of BlueBat Games. Now BlueBat is a studio based in Vancouver, Canada. We're 7 people strong, and we start out like everyone else probably here in my co-founder's basement. Actually, I think it was more of a office space, bedroom, kitchen, yeah, whatever it is. But at the time that we started, we didn't know anything about business development or what it means to actually run a company. But we were fortunate enough to have gone into a Grow Lab Accelerator, which is a startup accelerator in Canada. So that allowed us to learn from people that were a lot smarter than us, and my hope is that we can pass some of those lessons on. So my talk isn't strictly on game development per se, but it's on something about working around the business. So the first thing about starting a company is that resources are extremely tight, so everyone must wear multiple hats. So Tim and I come from a AAA type of background from electronic arts. So in a big company like that, you have very defined roles, and everybody's focusing on one niche. But when you're in startup, at the very beginning, you have to do everything from engineering, production, all the way to being a janitor. So that's something that everyone has to accept. But one of the advice that a really smart mentor gave us was that if you're going to start a company, the first 3 people that you're going to hire are, first you need the CEO, who is the visionary, that can influence people internally as well as externally. Then you need that really high-tech engineering superstar, and that's going to become your CTO. The third one might be a little surprising in that you need a UX person. For us, it's not just a matter of being an artist. Like UX encompasses everything from UI to being an artist, as well as the UX lean methodologies, and so that includes usability testing and stuff. So it doesn't mean the other roles aren't important. It just means that you grow from these 3 people, and then you expand out your team this way. But one of the advice that we were given as well is that at the very early stage of the company, it's important to pick your evil dictator or leader. So decision by committee is fine. But in a startup, it's very, you have to be very efficient, and you have to make decisions really fast. And that can only happen when you have, that one top clear leader. And so it moves things a lot faster if you have that one person to go to. So another advice that we got was, in a startup, you need to be able to hire slow and fire fast. Now, I must admit, for us, it was really, really hard. At the beginning of last year, we had some financial troubles because we were just starting the company. And one of the advice that was given to us was that we should fire half the team. But for us, we built a small knit team that's very open, and that feels very much like a family. So, I must admit, it was very, very hard. And building a great team is one of the best things that you can do for your company. So my advice is, if you can't fire fast, then hire really, really slow. That's Jerry Maguire, show me the money. So the hardest thing about doing a startup actually is to bring in cash. And I heard this quote that you love what you're doing, but if what you're doing is not bringing in cash, then it's a hobby, not a business. And so we're all in here to make that next big hit, right? But we need to survive before that happens. So what are some of the ways that we can bring in funds to ensure our survival? So some of the ways that we can do is, the first one is, work for hire. There is, we came out and we wanted to do our own thing. We wanted to have the creative freedom, but the reality is that, sometimes work for hire, taking contracts can extend your runway and therefore give you multiple chances at the market. So, you're not always above that contract. You might have to take some in order to ensure your survival. And the second one is obviously to go out and start pitching and go the fundraising route. Now, fundraising is a long and tedious, hard job, and it's basically a full-time job. And investors in our space are tough because they see the game industry as kind of a hit and miss type of industry. So what I found is that the investors that will invest in game industry are actually investing in the people more so than your concept and your game. Like some investors don't even want to see your demo. They just they just want to believe in you. So a trick I found is that before I go to the investment meetings, I pretend that I'm a superhero. Yeah, usually Wonder Woman, but Superman, Batman works as well. It's San Francisco, right? So, but the idea is that you have to instill confidence in your investor, in that you know what you're doing, and also you're an expert in your field. And the other source of funding that you guys can look into is that we're a Canadian company, and in Canada we have government programs that help out with entrepreneurship. So we have something called the IRAP, which is a government grant for innovation. We also have tax credits for research and development, and these are free money. And these are the least string attached type of money that you can bring into the company. So these are definitely worth looking into. You can also look into your local startup accelerators. Going through Grow Lab was probably one of the best things that we ever did. And it's the benefits is far more outweighs the financials. The other thing is, I see a lot of projects going on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, like those kind of crowdfunding type of platforms. And those are great, and those just make sure it is project-based, not company-based, and also you have to understand some of the ramifications that could come with it. So just really know what you're doing before you put your stuff out there like that. So some of the advice that we were given is, we're all indie developers. We're all developers that want to focus on production, but the reality is when you're running a business, these kind of things come into effect. And some of the advice we're giving is that learning the financial statements, at least on a broad level, is not that hard. You just have to put in the time and effort. And understanding the income sheet and balance statement and those kind of things is actually really, really helpful. And you don't have to know it in depth. You just have to know it enough to know what's happening. So at the beginning of the company, it's very easy, right? Because the financial statement is zero. It's blank. There's no money coming in, no money coming out there. But eventually, when it becomes a real business, it's really important to keep up with your monthly financials and also to keep up with some of the legal documents that nobody wants to do. But trust me, like a year from now, it's going to be a pain in the ass to have to go back and fix everything, which is what we had to do. So we all heard this saying, if you build it, they will come. And what we found is they won't come, at least in our case. So when we talk to indie developers and we talk to people that are trying to raise funds, the way they talk about how much money they need, they always talk about, well, we have 3 people on the team. This is going to take us 6 months to build this product. So we need funds for that, but they don't think about what happens after launch, and that marketing budget is vital, and that marketing expense, you have to budget that in because sometimes that's just as important as your game, as your production. So this is the Hollywood sign, crapped out. Tim and I come from a AAA type of background. We spent a lot of years at Electronic Arts, and what we find in the game industry, at least in the bigger companies, is that they follow a methodology that's more like the movie industry. It's very glamorous. We have things like pre-production, production, post-production. We have roles like producer, director. It's all followed after the movie making industry. But as a startup, forget about it. As a startup, what we recommend is more of a lean methodology. And what lean methodology is actually it's about testing stuff. It's about building an MVP, a minimal viable product, that you can launch early and iterate on it and launch fast. Yeah, so the whole idea is that you're not going to get your game right the first time after launch. So you want to be able to get it out there fast and be able to get feedback and understand your analytics and understand your metrics and iterate over and over again on it. And that goes with what we think about success. In the AAA type of model, we kind of think of success as you build, you launch, and then success. Where success in reality is it's very messy, and it's like a headache, and yeah, it's all over the place. So the lean methodology also teaches the ability to pivot, to understand whether your game has traction, and so it's a more of a changing your product to fit the market and having multiple chances at it, understanding your analytics and tune things. So for us, when we launched, it took us a good 2 to 3 months before we actually balanced our virtual economy, and took us another like 2 or 3 months before we actually understood the whole funnel of marketing, CPI, and then going all the way to monetization. So it does take some time, and you only have certain budgets. You don't have that much time. The runway is not going to be that long, right? So get things out early and get feedback early, and then build the right product by getting things out there. Getting lucky. Again, we're in San Francisco. Now, so the reality is that for us, anyone to build a successful startup, a company, or a game, there has to be some luck involved. But I do believe that we can engineer in that luck. So, for example, the way we fundraise, we went out and we pitched, we networked, and we got rejected, we got our ass kicked over and over and over again. And the first major influential investor that came into our company was actually kind of a lucky coincidence. So what happened was we were on the same flight, and the flight got delayed. So we spent about an hour in the airport, and I had a chance to really talk to him and pitch, and for us to understand each other. And also his wife was there, and his wife was like, "Oh, I love this guy. You should invest." And we all know you have to listen to the wife, right? So that's a yeah. So whenever else fails, go to the wife. But I do believe that we did get lucky, and it was a serendipity event that really started building momentum, and our trajectory really went up, and that's because we did go out and put ourselves out there and just getting our ass kicked over and over again. So the last thing is that as an indie developer, I know you guys don't think of yourself as entrepreneurs, or some of them don't, but you are entrepreneurs, you are building a business, and as an entrepreneur, you go through some really highs and really lows, like some extreme highs that you feel like you're on top of the world, and then some lows where you think like you're in depression, and it's very schizophrenic, and sometimes that happens within the same day. So, what I believe is that if you come into it knowing that you're going to have some setbacks and some failures, then you're better prepared for it. And you never truly fail until you give up. So just don't give up. All right, that's my talk. Any questions?
Hi. So it sounds like how you got the VC investment is by luck, or?
So it is by luck, but we counted 94 rejections before that. I was actually marking it down, and my plan was if we go over 100, if we can't even get one, then that's it, kind of thing, right? But yeah, so it is luck, it's serendipity, but there's a Get Lucky, that's a really good book, and it talks about putting yourself in situations where luck can happen, right?
So as your investor, how would you categorize your investor? As a professional investor, as an angel that was knowledgeable, or an angel that just had some money and the wife thought it was a good idea? I mean, so how sophisticated really was your investor? And if you had to go raise money now, after being where you are, do you think of those 94 that turned you down, given what you've been able to demonstrate, would you be able to raise money from any of them? Or could you talk a little bit more about fundraising from where you are?
Yeah, sure. So, the part of it, the 94 rejections, part of it is just, we're learning at the same time. So, there's a lot of legwork that you can do before contacting someone. So understanding whether they invest in your space, whether they're an influential person in the industry, those kind of things really help before you approach someone. So it's not just anybody with money. Like in BC, a lot of investors play in the real estate and in the mining industry. And those guys, I mean, you're likely not gonna have much traction pitching to that person. So our investor, our first major investor is actually the CEO of Super Rewards and CEO of Eastside Games over there. Not Josh, but Jason Billy. So he was someone that we were after for a while. Like we wanted to connect with him, and because he's a very influential person in social gaming in general, and he was one of those success stories. So we knew bringing someone like that in would really help our trajectory and our momentum. But the thing is, getting time with these guys isn't always easy, right? So that's where that kind of event really helped, right? Because we actually got to talk to him.
So, I mean, I've found that one of the more trickier things is the marketing
Yeah.
aspect of it, especially when you have a limited budget and you have limited runway and limited time. Can you talk about how you handle marketing on your end, given what you have available to you?
Yeah, so it was really tough. We're one of those studios that we honestly thought once we launch, it would just take off. So that didn't happen, but we did have a budget for marketing, and we're putting in small amounts to test. And so we were doing a lot of tuning, a lot of virtual economy. I mean, the first thing that you need to do when you launch is to make sure you get the retention right. So that's getting people to stay. And then after that, then you worry about monetization. And then after after that, you can start building other features that people want, right? But just getting the retention was very tough, and just figuring out what the lifetime value is very tough. So it's and that's why the game itself is evolving so much that that's why you want to shorten it, and that's the whole thing about MVP is just get those usability tests in, get those metrics in, understand your analytics, and then you have a baseline, right? Then every day that you make changes to it, you can monitor those.
Is there an analytics package that you recommend?
So the one was recommended to us, that was Kissmetrics. And there's also, Contagion is obviously the big one over there. We build everything in-house, and we didn't build like the pretty dashboards or anything like that. And we just use a lot of Excel, and we just ran SQL queries and pipe it into Excel and try to use the power of Excel to plot and do all the formulas and everything. Josh? All right. Well, thank you so much.